news tonight. Many have termed it a disaster waiting to happen. Many have called it a man-made tragedy, and not without reason. 22 people were killed today and over 30 seriously injured in a rush-hour stampede in Mumbai when a massive crowd tried to leave a narrow, rickety railway bridge connecting two of the busiest train stations in the city amid heavy rain. The stampede broke out on the bridge between the busy Parel and Elphinstone road stations. According to witnesses, 4 trains came at the same time, and due to the rain, a few commuters slipped, and that may have led to the tragedy. The bridge was packed with a much bigger crowd than usual. The Shiv Sena has lashed out at its ally, the BJP, saying they wrote letter after letter to former Railway Minister Suresh Prabhu, warning him about the dangers of this narrow, cramped and almost unstable bridge, but the warnings were ignored. The Railway Ministry says the funds were sanctioned for a new bridge and a tender floated. But beyond that, nothing. Clearly, the project remained only on paper. The question many are asking tonight is this: why is human life so cheap in India? Why do we wait for tragedies to wake up from our slumber? Why are no lessons ever learned from any disaster? Why is it always business as usual? Is Mumbai supposed to once again just display the famous and much abused Mumbai spirit and simply move on as if nothing happened? For a city that's going to have bullet trains in a few years, isn't it an absolute shame that there's not even basic rail safety and infrastructure in place? Have we got our priorities all wrong? Just where does the buck stop? What will come of the high-level probe that has been ordered? Why should Maximum City, that pays more in taxes than any other city in the country, put up with crumbling, sinking, decaying infrastructure, total civic and political apathy and corruption year after year, decade after decade? And another question that many are asking today: just where is that new India that we hear so much about?
सब इधर पूरे जैसा लाशघर बोलते हैं ना, इधर बन गए.
It was a tragedy waiting to happen. More than 22 lives were crushed at Mumbai's Elphinstone Bridge today.
मुमरा से दादर जा रहे थे. एक देवर था हमारा, एक मामू है, वो गोंडी से दादर जा रहे थे. अक्सर ये ब्रिज से ट्रैवल करते हैं. हाँ,
मतलब ब्रिज का जो चौड़ाई है ना, उसका डबल, ट्रिपल और 4 गुना सब बड़ा चौड़ा ब्रिज बना सकते हैं. लेकिन यहाँ रेलवे को करोड़ों रुपया देने वाला है. एलिफिंस्टन पर डे रेलवे को करोड़ों रुपया दे रहा है. करोड़ों रुपया कहाँ जा रहा है?
A rumor triggered the stampede, sparking chaos and mayhem at one of the busiest railway stations in Mumbai.
Right now we are present at that very location where the sad incident took place, and talking about the situation on ground. The cops are here, the NDRF teams are here to take care of the situation. The incident took place at early in the morning. That was peak hour situation.
So we can understand during peak hours the situation is bad, and this was a tragedy which was waiting to take place, because if we talk about the revamping of this particular station and these bridges, railway since last 3 years is promising that a revamped strategy is in place. This particular connecting bridge which you can see, this is always crowded, always overcrowded for that matter. But you can see that people are here, and during the peak hours, that is morning peak hours and evening peak hours, the problem increases, the rush increases.
Thousands of commuters have been using the narrow Elphinstone Bridge every day. The bridge was in a shoddy state. The authorities were informed about the poor maintenance in advance, but no action was taken.
प्रिलिमिनरी जानकारी मिली है, उसके हिसाब से वहां पर एकदम सडन रेंस प्रारंभ हो गई, जिसका कोई फोरकास्ट भी नहीं था वेदर डिपार्टमेंट से.
Calamity never comes alone, but then you have to be prepared. What is that the situation with the railway department? Don't you have?
ये जो घटना हुई है कोई ब्रिज टूटने से या ओवरहेड वायर टूटने से नहीं हुई, तो कुछ बात फैलने से जो भगदड़ मची उस कारण ये हुआ है.
As netas continue passing the buck, Newsix has learned that the Railway Ministry had in 2016 proposed another 12-meter wide foot-over bridge on the Elphinstone Road, and that the then Railway Minister Suresh Prabhu had even sanctioned the funds for the construction. But Babugiri kept stalling the work.
मैंने निर्देश दिया है जो भी फुट ओवर ब्रिजेस में जरूरत पड़ेगी कि इसको वाइडन किया जाए, दुरुस्त किया जाए, उसको तुरंत हाई प्रायोरिटी पे किया जाएगा.
The question that now arises is that, could this tragedy been averted had the authorities taken action on time? Who will now take the accountability for the loss of 22 lives? With Santi and Urvashi from Mumbai, Bureau Report, News X.
Let's now take a quick look at the big questions we're asking tonight. 22 killed in the Mumbai Stampede. Was it a disaster waiting to happen? Why were innumerable warnings about the foot overbridge ignored? Why did the new foot overbridge that was cleared remain only on paper? Money for bullet trains but no money for safety of real passengers? Have we got our priorities all wrong? Where does the buck stop? Maximum city and therefore maximum civic and political apathy? Maximum city, minimum infrastructure. And where is the new India we hear so much about? Let's take some of those questions straight across to our panelists. We're joined by Tuhin Sinha, spokesperson for the BJP, joining us live from Mumbai tonight. Pawan Khera, national spokesperson for the Congress, is also with us. KTS Tulsi, Rajya Sabha MP, senior lawyer, joining us from Chandigarh. Here with me in the studio, Dilip Cherian, founder of Perfect Relations, Davinder Mehendirata, consumer rights activist, Athar Zia, social activist. This is also a call-in show. Pick up your phones, call us, give us your questions, tell us what you think. The number to call is flashing at the bottom of your screen. Before I go across to our panelists, let me quickly take this to my colleague Urvashi, who's been tracking the story through the day for us and now joins us live from Mumbai with some angry and concerned Mumbaikars. Urvashi, through the day we've been talking about how this is a story of utter apathy. Mumbai, known for its Mumbai spirit, and it seems as if that's all we expect Mumbaikars to do every time. Display that Mumbai spirit and move on as if nothing happened. But the question is, will accountability be fixed in this place? Because everyone who knows what exactly happened today has said this was a disaster waiting to happen. Why were these warnings ignored?
Well, yes, certainly. We see that how and in which way a lot of many things were concerned and raised. But then what about the accountability is now the question arises. In fact, it was Prabhu who during the budget planned out much before, and he was told that this particular bridge is 100 years old, and without getting much into it, he instituted it in 2016-17. The tenders were about to issue. That was in this particular November. Just a month before, we see the kind of whole situation that arrives, the extremely unacceptable tragedy that arrived. I'm now joined by some activists as well as a lot of many Mumbaikars with me. Let's have a word with them and get to know. So ये बताएं किस तरह से आप इस पूरी घटना को देखते हैं. कई ऐसे मुंबईकर्स हैं जिन्होंने एवरीवेयर कंसर्न रेज किया है ये पूरे प्लेटफॉर्म, ये पूरे ब्रिज को लेकर. ये एक ही ब्रिज नहीं है, ऐसे कई ब्रिजेस हैं मुंबई में ऑन ईच लाइन, सेंट्रल, वेस्टर्न एंड हार्बर. स्टिल देयर इज नो कॉग्निजेंस दैट इज टेकन. अकाउंटेबिलिटी किसकी, ये सवाल उठता है.
मैडम, ये रेलवे की जिम्मेदारी है कि अगर वो अपने यात्रियों के लिए अगर ब्रिज अवेलेबल नहीं कर सकते तो और क्या कर सकते हैं. जहां मोदी जी एक तरफ जो बुलेट ट्रेन की बात कर रहे हैं और लोगों के चलने के लिए ब्रिज नहीं दे सकते हैं. अभी जो ब्रिज का हादसा हुआ है करीब 100 साल के आसपास पुराना हुआ है और मुंबई में इस तरह के ज्यादातर ब्रिजेज तो ओल्ड है. और अभी हमने जो है पीयूष गोयल जी का इंटरव्यू सुना जो है, तो उन्होंने कहा कि हम जो सेफ्टी जो हमारा ऑफिसर है उसके थ्रू हम इन्वेस्टिगेशन कराएंगे. तो मैडम ये इंतजार ही क्यों करते रहते कि हर हादसा हो और ये जो इन्वेस्टिगेशन कराएं, उससे पहले क्यों प्रोसिक्यूशन क्यों नहीं ले रहे हैं जो है.
Angry voices out there कि why they are waiting for something like this to happen, why action comes out. आप क्या कहेंगे सर? आप जो है आपकी ओर से एक पीयूष गोयल इनको लेटर भी लिखा गया है कि जो ऑफिशियल्स है उनके अगेंस्ट एफआईआर दर्ज हो.
बिल्कुल, एफआईआर जो जिम्मेदार अफसरान है उनके अगेंस्ट होना चाहिए. मुंबई का बहुत अवेयर है और लगातार वो ट्वीट करता रहता है, सोशल मीडिया पे इस बात को उठाता रहता है, लेटर लिखता रहता है. हमने भी कई लेटर्स लिखे हैं. मगर हम सबसे दुर्भाग्य की बात यह है कि मुंबई में सिर्फ लोकल मुंबई में 3,500 के लगभग लोग लोकल हादसे में आम तौर पे मारे जाते हैं. पर डे 10 का एवरेज है. उसके बाद भी 10 लोग मरते हैं, उसके बाद भी सरकारों की आंखें नहीं खुलती. और हादसे जिस तरह से कुर्ला का ब्रिज है, 8 नंबर प्लेटफॉर्म आप देख सकते हैं. मीरा रोड में इस तरह का हादसा होने का बहुत खतरा है. जहां पे हार्बर लाइन और सेंट्रल लाइन मिलती है कुर्ला में, वहां पे इस तरह के लोग शिफ्ट होते हैं. हार्बर से आने वाले कुर्ला सेंट्रल में जाते हैं. उसी तरह जहां एल्फिस्टन में जो हादसा हुआ है वहां से भी सेंट्रल से आने वाले लोग वेस्टर्न में जाते हैं, वेस्टर्न से आने वाले. और लगातार लोग, अभी कल भी कुछ लोगों ने ट्वीट किया, परसों भी ट्वीट किया, यहाँ तक कि हमारे जो MP है अरविंद सावंत, उनके पास भी जो रेलवे के जो मिनिस्टर थे उन्होंने लेटर लिखा है कि हम ऐसे करेंगे वैसे करेंगे, मगर करते कुछ नहीं। हमने भी इसके पहले बांद्रा के भी एक इशू उठाया था, उसमें हमने जो उनको लेटर दिया, उन्होंने हमारे पास लिखत में एक लेटर दिया है कि 2 फरवरी को हमारा काम चालू हो जाएगा, टेंडर हो चुका है। आज सितंबर चल रहा है, 29 सितंबर चल रहा है, आज तक कोई काम चालू नहीं हुआ है और ये लोग भी बस हादसे का इंतजार करते। सबसे दुर्भाग्य की बात यह है, हादसा होने के बाद ये लोग बोलते हैं हम लोग डिपार्टमेंटल इंक्वायरी करेंगे, मगर डिपार्टमेंटल इंक्वायरी में क्या है, जो लोग मुजरिम है वो खुद कैसे इंक्वायरी कर सकते हैं। मैं तो कहता हूं इनके ऊपर क्रिमिनल केस दफा 302 के तहत, धारा के तहत केस चलाना चाहिए, तब इनको मालूम पड़ेगा जिम्मेदारी क्या होती है।
सर्टेनली इंक्वायरी पे इंक्वायरी आप कहना चाह रहे हो कि इंक्वायरी पे इंक्वायरी होती है, पर कोई ठोस जो है उसके कोई एक्शन नहीं ली जाती, और शायद इसलिए एक्शन नहीं ली जाती, इसलिए ह्यूमन लाइफ की कोई वैल्यू नहीं।
मैडम, जब तक अकाउंटेबिलिटी फिक्स नहीं होगी इस हादसे की भी, इस तरह के हादसे होते रहेंगे। मुझे बड़े अफसोस के साथ कहना पड़ता है कि बॉम्बे नहीं, पूरे नेशनल सिनारियो में इंसानों के जाने की कोई वैल्यू नहीं है।
A question over there are the angry voices asking,
I know,
is there
that's
no
the
value
problem.
of human life?
5 breaks. For getting us those voices. Clearly Mumbaikars are angry tonight, and who can blame them? Let me also now go across to Santya, who's also been covering the story for us through the day. Santya, many pointing out that this is a city that is going to have bullet trains in a few years, and yet Mumbai lacks basic rail safety and infrastructure. Many calling it a joke. Santya, can you hear me? All right, I'm not sure if Santya can hear me. We'll try and go across to her in just a moment. But let's quickly begin this discussion with our panel. All right, let me start with BJP spokesperson Tuhin Sinha. Mr. Sinha, it is well known that Shiv Sena MPs wrote 2 letters to former Railway Minister Suresh Prabhu, talking about the need for more foot overbridges at busy train stations in Mumbai, and also talking about the need to widen this particular foot overbridge at the Elphinstone Road station. Here are those 2 letters that were sent to the Railway Minister, one on the 20th of February 2016, the other on the 29th of September 2016. Your own ally, the Shiv Sena, has lashed out at you today. Now, sir, we know that Suresh Prabhu sanctioned funds. 12 crore rupees was sanctioned for a new foot overbridge. The tender was floated, but nothing beyond that. Clearly, it remained on paper. So my question is simply this: is it enough to clear projects on paper? Who's going to take the responsibility of getting the job done?
What has happened today is extremely heart-wrenching, and in this particular case, when you say that the amount was sanctioned, but unfortunately, the tender wasn't floated after that, this is not something which is the norm in this government. This is an exception, and obviously the investigation would reveal why such a thing would not such a thing happened, in which case the officials who have erred and who are responsible for this lapse would be punished. More importantly...
But why would you call it an exception, Mr. Sinha? And also, many would ask, isn't it convenient for the government to pass the buck to the babus? Because at the end of the day, you possess the power and you have the accountability, sir.
Passing the buck, like I said, from the minister's point of view, the amount was sanctioned. Now, only an investigation would reveal why the tender was not subsequently floated. So I'm not passing the buck. I'm just saying that it would not be right to pin the blame on the previous minister or anybody else. The larger question over here is a lot of steps have been taken to decongest the rail. From tomorrow, in fact, 100 new trains were to be added, and in fact the whole metro rail, which had been lying idle for the last 15 years, suddenly work has started on it, and the next 2 years, all of them should become functional. But the more important question which today's incident probably highlights is the foot over bridges had probably been ignored so far, and yes, it's a big eye opener. Not just the foot over bridges, even the approach roads.
Do I need to remind you that your party has been in power in Maharashtra for years, and it's been in power at the center for 3 years now, and you said let's not blame the former railway minister, unfair to do that. Yes, he sanctioned the funds. We are saying it as well. But sir, my question to you is again this: Does his job end with sanctioning something on paper, just signing off, or does he also have the responsibility as the railway minister of getting the job done?
Absolutely not. The job does not end with sanctioning the funds. So please don't blame the government on everything. Only a proper investigation would reveal why, in this case, no progress was made. At the same time, for the last 15 years, all the metro rail projects were lying idle. We've got it started. So all I'm saying is that, yes, there has been a lapse. And yes, being the government of the day, the buck stops with the government. There's no denying that.
I'm glad you're saying that, because you began by saying don't blame the government for everything. Then who do we blame, sir? We certainly can't blame Pakistan for this.
Don't get into these gimmicks which other channels get into.
No,
That's
I'm
the
sorry.
only reason why I
No,
come
sir,
over here.
this is
I'm
not a
accepting.
gimmick.
Please understand. All I'm trying to
You can't wash your hands off this. It's not a gimmick. I'm asking you a simple, straight question.
Is that in this particular case where you talk about the amount having been sanctioned and no action subsequently having been taken place, this is something, why this happened is something only an investigation would reveal. But yes, the moral responsibility is of the government. Who's denying that?
But then you began by saying don't blame the government for everything. Okay, I'll come back to you. 1 second. Let's get Pawan Khera into the conversation. We also have our first caller. I'll go across to them in just a moment, but before that, let's get in Pawan Khera. Pawan Khera, you heard, of course, what the BJP spokesperson said. He says, yes, the buck stops with the government, but don't blame the government for everything. Now, I want to read out something to you. In his reply to Sena MP Arvind Sawant's letter in February last year, Suresh Prabhu said, yes, we will work towards extending this foot-over bridge, but he also talked about paucity of finances, operational constraints and other compelling circumstances for his ministry's inability to respond to these requests. The question is, if you have funds for bullet trains, then why not for a foot-over bridge? That's the question many are asking. Mumbai is going to have bullet trains by 2022. But we don't have enough money for safety, railway safety?
Yeah. Neha, they have enough money to go and, for the minister to go and rename the Elphinstone station to Prabha Devi, which he was doing today. They have enough money for all kinds of...
All right, we seem to have lost the line there too. Pawan Khera will try and reconnect with him in just a moment. The horrific tragedy that visited Mumbai this morning, the stampede that left 22 people dead and more than 30 seriously injured. All right, we have our first caller at this point, Sujata from Bengaluru, on the phone line with us. Sujata, go ahead. What are your thoughts on this tragedy? Many calling it a man-made one. Where do you think the buck stops?
Hi, good evening. Just wanted to first of all thank the media for bringing it to the public to know what's exactly happening. And second, I wanted to tell is all these things, when such things happen, people are talking about it and then it's forgotten. When are we going to have a safe India? When are we going to have safe structures? When are we I'm becoming emotional. When are we going to do such things? Instead of, bullet trains and electronic India, let's concentrate on, first of all, the structures in India which have to be safe for a common citizen.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Sujata. Thanks so much for sharing your thoughts with us. I think that's something that many Indians will agree with tonight. Pawan Khera, we'd lost the line to you before we went into that break. Complete your point.
I'm saying they had enough money to go and rename the Elphinstone station to Prabha Devi. They have enough money to erect statues of 3,600 crores. They have enough money, as you rightly said, about bullet trains. The people of India don't want to get into technicalities that the funds for bullet trains are coming from Japan. No, we are not interested in these technicalities. We want to know what are your priorities. And Mr. Tuhin Sinha reflects the arrogance of this party and this government very well. I'm glad he does, so that people come to know what they're all about. How can you say that nothing moved on the metro? I mean, go and see. Metro is already running in Mumbai. What we are basically, people are demanding, if you had money, the budgets of railway and the union budget have been merged. There is no real shortage of money now because they don't have to pay the dividend to the union government anymore. The railways doesn't have to pay the dividend anymore. So this is a very strange excuse that, okay, there is a paucity of funds and somebody comes and says, blame it on the rain gods. They will pass the buck on everybody, but not take responsibility of what they are
All right, the
failing
government
at.
needs to take responsibility at the end of the day is what the Congress is saying. And also I think there's a contradiction in the stand taken by the government, because on the one hand you had Suresh Prabhu saying paucity of funds and other constraints are a factor. On the other hand, we know that 12 crores were sanctioned. So if the project didn't go ahead, obviously there was delay. And whose fault is that? That's something we need to look into. Dilip Cherian coming here. Now, you know, we've heard phrases like man-made disaster, tragedy waiting to happen, unfortunately, way too many times in the past. We've also heard of high-level inquiries, way too many times in the past. Hackneyed, tired phrases. What comes out of these high-level inquiries, I want to know.
Two things, Neha, are very important. One is, just less than 3 weeks ago, we had a series of tragedies which led Bombay into a standstill because of the floods.
Yes.
This is another case of rain, which is why it's related. You know, people died, doctors were swept through the drain storms, all kinds of things happened.
Yes.
Nothing has moved after that, and now again another so-called rain-induced tragedy. You know,
and another high-level inquiry.
As far as high-level inquiries are concerned,
yes,
just a few days ago, Nitin Gadkari, who's our union minister, said at a public forum that he had wanted a parking lot outside Parliament, and he required 27 clearances, and he had to personally chase them up. So if Suresh Prabhu is releasing 12 crores for a foot overbridge, clearly there are a whole bunch of systems between the state and the centre, the railways and the administration, all of which is coming into play. And the fact is that today the passengers have themselves said that there is a set of 5 overbridges which are in dire disaster
Not
situation.
just this one.
Not just this one.
I
so
agree.
instead of having yet one more inquiry into this, the idea is to say, let us set a date by which those will be completed, not started, not initiated, not sanctioned, but completed.
Completed and fully functional.
Mr. Modi came into power promising that this was a government where minimum government would interfere with the work of what citizens needed. And I think that is the promise that the public will hold this government to.
Absolutely.
And that is the danger that we are all facing.
That is what we are all facing. Adhar Zia, I'd like to ask you this. Now, as Dilip Cherian pointed out, many commuters in Bombay said today that this situation has been abysmal for years now. And, you know, in this particular situation, it was a narrow, rickety bridge connecting two of the busiest train stations in Mumbai, a problem of extremely poor crowd management. And, you know, let me quote a statistic to you. According to an Observer Research Foundation report, in the past 6 months, close to 1,600 people have been killed. Most of them fell off trains and a few died while crossing railway tracks in Mumbai. That is the situation we are talking about. And we are also talking about a city which is going to have bullet trains in the next few years. Many are saying it just doesn't add up.
So first of all, I will tell that we should not link the bullet train. Any progressive movement should not be stopped or something. I mean, that is a different thing.
I don't think anybody is talking about stopping it. I think the question is misplaced priorities.
Just a second, Neha. Just a second. Basically, everything is mismanaged.
Okay.
If you go to local, any station, I feel surprised that how people are surviving. Why these incidents are not happening, not only in a year once or twice, not every day. And basically what happens that we start politicizing and criticizing the political system, leaving aside the bureaucracy and the actual people who are so insensitive, who are basically just concerned with their money and the corrupt system in which they are operating.
Do you then believe that the bureaucracy is more to blame than the political class? Is that your view?
Of course, 100% I believe in that. Because suppose, you know, the political system can't take the day-to-day affair of the system. Anybody who is standing, the station manager, the crowd guy, the DCP of that area, he sees every day that, look, this is going to happen. It is so obvious, but they are so insensitive that not to take any action.
My view is that the bureaucracy in this country at the moment is extremely terrified. Between the inquiries on them and between the constant badgering by a whole bunch of agencies, they are not good. And the second thing is that the DCP or the station manager has no role in sanctioning or getting anything done.
The things are sanctioned. But top man, just two policemen, that is two policemen who are just controlling the crowd out there. I had been in a Paris in a Gulf show. It was a big show, and at that particular moment, around 70,000 people were traveling on a particular route. But right from the entrance of the station to the entry of the train to the exit of the passengers on that particular venue of the show, everything was so well taken
so
care
you
of.
are saying it's as much about crowd management as it is about investing in adequate infrastructure.
As well,
While
yeah.
I don't think we can quarrel with that argument, but perhaps it can be debated whose responsibility it really is at the end of the day. And I'm going to put that question to you, Mr. Mendiratha.
1853,
Let me bring in Mr. Mendiratha. The Shiv Sena is blaming the BJP, saying they are in power at the center, they're in power in Maharashtra, and we kept warning them. They ignored our warnings. You know, of course, the Shiv Sena has enough questions to answer about its own civic apathy as far as the functioning of the BMC is concerned, because that's something that Mumbaikars are victims of. But as far as today's tragedy is concerned, I'm going to ask you this, sir. Where do you think the buck stops? Some would say it's convenient perhaps to blame this on the bureaucracy, on red tape. What about the political bosses? Because at the end of the day, aren't they the ones who possess the power to get things done? And aren't they the ones who have the accountability ultimately to the electorate?
Yeah, see, it is not only the accountability of bureaucracy. BJP government, even in center or state government, they are not willing to come into the development mode. They have to come into the development mode first. Unless they come into development mode, they are just on the paperwork they are doing. They are just announcing schemes. They are just announcing projects and all, like bullet train or whatever, all big projects they are announcing. These are all on papers only. You just see a small tender of 12 crore which could not be implemented unless there are time-bound initiatives of development work. And these projects should be completed in time-bound manner only. Then only we can proceed and we can talk about development. This government, they are just working on paper.
Okay,
This is
let
not
me, I think, okay, that's an important point you're making. Let me take that back to Tuhin Sinha. Mr. Sinha, it's not just critics and opposition, but many ordinary people, especially in Mumbai today, who are very angry following this tragedy, who are saying tall promises, fancy slogans, but is it all on paper? Now, we know that it's not just this particular foot overbridge where the tragedy occurred today. There are many others also that are almost crumbling on the verge of collapse. Now, are we going to wait for another tragedy before the government does something about those? Are we going to just sanction funds, float tenders, and then forget about it?
Humility, while we have been focusing on decongesting the stations, I think in all fairness, let me accept that yes, the safety of the overbridges, or even for that matter, the approach roads had taken a backseat. And I'm glad with the announcement of Mr. Piyush Goyal today, safety audits would happen as soon as possible. It's an eye opener for us. It's a very it's a cruel blow to us, because frankly, no matter what the Congress might say, we are not arrogant. Even I travel by train even today when I need to save time. Mr. Piyush Goyal has traveled by train for 8 years. But yes, put over bridges, approach roads are something which probably had been left out for some reason. They had not, been on top of the agenda.
And are we going to see things finally changing, Mr. Sinha? Are we going to finally see things changing? Because as everyone has pointed out, there are many other such spots that are perhaps disasters in waiting.
You can rest assured within a week of his taking over, Mr. Piyush Goyal had held a night-long meeting with the Mumbai Railway officials, post which 100 trains were added. So I'm sure within a week, this thing would be addressed.
The most dangerous thing we have, very quickly, is that this is the first time in the country that we had two successive railway ministers from the same city.
Exactly.
Two union ministers from the same city.
And one disaster after another. Absolutely. Mr. Tulsi, my apologies, sir, for keeping you waiting. I need to slip into... This is a special broadcast you're watching on NewsX, where we're discussing the terrible tragedy that occurred in Mumbai this morning, resulting in the loss of 22 innocent lives. That stampede, which many say could have been avoided. Let me now go across to KTS's Tulsi. Sir, my apologies for keeping you waiting. But the question is simply this, sir. In your view, where does the problem lie? Is it corruption? Is it apathy? Is it bureaucratic hurdles? Is it a lack of political will? Is it all of the above? I think the question many are asking tonight is, so why is human life so cheap in this country?
Yes, I entirely disagree with Mr. Sinha that this is moral responsibility. It's not a question of moral responsibility. The question is, what is the legal liability of a person who is specifically informed about the inadequacy of strength of the foot-over bridge, which is serving more than 1 lakh people every day. Now, once the problem has been brought to the notice of the minister, it is the strict liability principle that is that applies to all matters of public safety. This is a question of life of hundreds of people, thousands of people, lakhs of people who are using that bridge. Merely sanctioning does not save the minister of legal responsibility. According to me, the safety measures, once acknowledged, ought to have been taken, and safety does not wait for anything. To minister must have principles, must have policies that safety measures, safety matters will be dealt with immediately.
Mr.
They have to be dealt with
you're
within
making
24
an important
hours.
point.
Otherwise, the minister will be responsible.
Sir, you're making an important point. You're saying that a minister can't, absolve himself or avoid legal responsibility for something like this. Sir, you're a legal luminary. In your career, in your experience, I'd like to ask you, have you ever really seen instances of legal accountability being fixed at the highest levels? Usually, even when you see an FIR being lodged against somebody being arrested, it's usually an official at a very low level.
In Bhopal, it went right to the top. In Ubhar tragedy, it went right up to the top. In this case, there is no question of the minister not being held liable under Section 304 IPC, that is culpable homicide, not amounting to murder. Nobody is saying that he intended to kill, but he ought to have known that if this is not rectified, it's going to result in mass loss of lives. And that's exactly what happened. It's not unpredictable. It was brought to his pointed notice by the member of parliament not once but twice. And then if safety measures are also going to get lost in the myriad administrative red tape, then the minister doesn't deserve to stay. And not only doesn't deserve to stay, the minister has to be made an accused under Section 304. And he has to be liable for culpable homicide. It is no use making people, at the railway station level responsible.
That's a very strong statement coming from senior lawyer KTS Tulsi, who says the minister cannot avoid legal liability, that he should actually be booked for culpable homicide not amounting to murder. Of course, something the BJP will not agree with. Stay with us. We won by a stampede that resulted in the loss of 22 lives this morning. Is this a tragedy that could have been averted is a question everyone's asking. Tuhin Sinha of the BJP is with us. Mr. Sinha, before we went into this break, KTS Tulsi expressed the opinion in very strong terms that the railway minister cannot avoid legal liability for what's happened. It's not enough to say that the minister and the government have moral responsibility. He said the minister should actually be booked for culpable homicide not amounting to murder. How do you react to that?
Well, I'm not a lawyer, but to the best of my understanding, in this case, only a proper investigation would reveal why, after sanctioning of the amount, a tender was not brought out. So I don't think, it's the right time for me to comment on it. Everybody is entitled to his opinion. And like I said, I don't deny the fact that moral responsibility lies with the government. To that extent, the buck stops with the government. But to say whether I think, it's overstretching it a bit too far to say that the minister should be booked for culpable homicide.
Okay. You're saying that that's taking things too far. Pavan Khera, come in here. He says that's taking things too far. Another question I want to ask you, Pavan Khera, is this. Now, in the run-up to the Gujarat elections, there's a song that's gone viral. The lyrics of which essentially mean Vikas or development has gone crazy. And that is something the Jaw Party has been quick to appropriate in its election campaign. The reason I bring this up is because the question that many are asking is this new India that we keep hearing so much about just essentially at the end of the day a fancy feel-good slogan?
This is an India shining kind of a slogan. Please take care of the existing infrastructure, the existing issues. Please don't resort to slogans. People can see through those slogans. It's 3 years. People of India are not fools. Let's come back to this issue. What about the Vivek Debroy committee? What about the Anil Kakodkar committee? What about these 2 reports on railway safety? And by the way, Neha, I've been a part of the government. 12 crores, you don't need a tender. You have empaneled contractors in railways. You don't need to float a tender for a project of 12 crore rupees, for God's sake. What are they doing? Why are they misleading us here now?
All right.
And
so you're saying there was a lack of political will to actually get the job done?
But just 3 years back.
All right, we seem to have
Let
lost...
me take this opportunity to personally assure you that under Mr. Piyush Goyal, all these grievances would be addressed and the railways would be taking a completely new direction. I've known Mr. Goyal personally for the last 7 years now, and I can vouch for that.
All right.
We heard that about Mr. Suresh Prabhu also. That's not it's not the individuals that matter. What we are talking about, the priorities of the government.
It is worth interjecting at this point of time, Mr. Tuhin Sinha, to also say that there is a similar tragedy waiting to happen
at other stations
in the Delhi metro at peak time. We have to recognize that this problem is not confined to any one city. This is a problem across the country, and you need to see the safety audit that Mr. Piyush Goyal has said. It needs to be conducted across a whole bunch of places.
No, we need
because
to
these
have
are
a
obvious.
crowd management all over the country.
Absolutely. Okay, I want to ask you this question, Dilip Cherian. You know, we keep referring to Mumbai as maximum city. We know that Mumbai pays more taxes than any other city in the country. Okay, BMC is the richest civic body in the country, and yet all that is supposed to sustain the city is the famed and much abused Mumbai spirit. One downpour, the city can sink. 4 trains come together and a stampede can kill 22 people. So the Mumbai spirit is supposed to magically make everything all right, no accountability as far as government administration and the civic agency are concerned?
The reason Mumbai's political governments get away with it is because the pressure of life is so severe that there is very little time for anybody to take protest into their own hands. It does not happen because the sheer, fight for existence in Mumbai is a everyday struggle. Anyone using Mumbai's metros, roads, railways, cabs, anything understands that just to stand still in Mumbai, to survive the next day is a huge trauma in itself. People travel for 6 hours to get to work. So this is a maximum city, but it's also maximum torture, and also it is the biggest magnet in the country, and thousands of people are pouring into the city every day in the search of jobs. So as India is, so-called looking towards its future, the fact is that these cities have become cesspools of both corruption, ineptitude, and apathy. And that's the reason why citizens don't have the time to take these things into their hands.
Absolutely. It's supposed to be the city of dreams, but guess what? It looks like it's crumbling. It may be a financial capital, it may be home to the country's highest taxpayers, but ask Mumbaikars what they have to go through every single day of their lives. It's nothing short of an ordeal. We'll carry on with this discussion on the come back. We're still discussing the Mumbai stampede that left 22 people dead this morning. Just who is to blame? Could this tragedy have been averted? All right, we have 2 callers with us at this point, Vivek from Kerala and Anil Dikshit from Gwalia. Vivek, go ahead. Share your thoughts with us.
Opposition parties, including the Congress and some vested interests, they air the views as if everything was okay with Bombay during the UPA tenure, and Mumbai became a metropolitan city only after the BJP came into power. The need was there from decades back. What was these people doing? And not only that, Suresh Prabhu, when he became Railway Minister, allocated funds for this. The Babdom made a mess out of it. But that too is not an excuse. He should have made the subordinate officers work, or else he should have resigned from that post much earlier. Okay,
all right, the government needs to stop making excuses. Thanks, Vivek, for sharing your views with us. Anil Dikshit, go ahead. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, my comment is on the statement of Mr. KTS Tulsi. He is actually talking bizarre. Law doesn't provide for it, and minister cannot be held responsible. Several of UPA ministers and Congress ministers shall be behind bars.
Okay.
If this logic is applied.
Okay, you don't agree with Mr. Tulsi. Thank you very much, Anil Dikshit. The railway minister is speaking. Let's listen.
कभी आज तो ये हादसा हुआ, कल कोई और कारण ना हो, उसके लिए विस्तार से आज चर्चा की है। अब सबको थोड़ा काम दिया है रात को तैयारी करने के लिए। कल हम फिर एक बार बैठने वाले हैं। कल दिल्ली से भी पूरे बोर्ड मुंबई आएगा। मुंबई के सभी रेल कर्मचारियों ने मेरी रिक्वेस्ट को एक्सेप्ट किया है कि हम कोई कल दशहरा नहीं मनाने वाले हैं। और सभी अधिकारी बैठ के कैसे वॉर फुटिंग पे सेफ्टी कंसर्न्स को मुंबई कर के और पूरे देश के सेफ्टी कंसर्न्स को फास्ट ट्रैक कैसे करें, स्पीड अप कैसे करें, उसमें जितना भी निवेश लगेगा, जितना भी इन्वेस्टमेंट मोस्ट फ्यूचरिस्टिक या अच्छी टेक्नोलॉजी लानी पड़ेगी, उतनी टेक्नोलॉजी, अच्छा इक्विपमेंट, उसके लिए बिना किसी बाधा के मैंने सभी अधिकारियों को कहा है कि वो थोड़ा विचार करें इस पे। कुछ बातें आपको पहले बताई गई, ऑडिट ऑर्डर किया है। अगले 7 दिन में अगले वीकेंड तक सभी सबर्बन स्टेशंस का इंस्पेक्शन करके वल्नरेबल इश्यूज भी सामने लाने के प्रयास करेंगे। जो एफओबीज काम चल रहा है उसको तेज गति देना। जो एफओबीज जैसे एल्फिंस्टन रोड वाला, तो मुझे फाइल मैंने मंगाई, देख के दुख हुआ कि 22 सितंबर को फाइनल अप्रूव होके और आज ही उसका टेंडर अपलोड होने का प्रोसेस था, जो शायद अपलोड भी हो गया होगा अभी तक नॉर्मल कोर्स में, पर इट इज ओनली प्रोविडेंशियल के आज ही हादसा हुआ और आज ही होना था। ऐसे कुछ निर्णय और कुछ दिशा भी आज मिली है। कल इस पे और चर्चा करके और फिर उसके बाद समय समय पे जनता को भी बताते रहेंगे क्या हम इस पे काम करें। यहीं पे हम बैठे। धन्यवाद।
That was Railway Minister Piyush Goyal speaking to the media about this tragedy. Let's get a quick reaction from Pawan Khera. Pawan Khera, you heard what the minister there said. He says we will leave no stone unturned in upgrading necessary infrastructure in this country. Now, he replaced Suresh Prabhu, the Railway Minister, just a couple of weeks ago after there were a series of train derailments around the country. So while he may be new to the job, his expectations from him are quite high. Are you hopeful that this is a man who can get the job done?
Listen, these bromides we are all used to as citizens also. Well, we'll upgrade the infrastructure. Tuhin said that 3 years they have already decongested the railway network. I'm sorry, a minister comes on live right now and says we will not celebrate Dussehra. For God's sake, how stupid can that get? Go and celebrate Dussehra, but please let people also live and celebrate. That's what we expect from you. What is this symbolism all about that we will not celebrate Dussehra?
Okay.
Why do you always try and insist on playing to the galleries? I don't understand this.
Let me take that to Tuhin Sinha.
Just do your job.
Okay, since I'm running out of time, let's take that to Tuhin Sinha. Tuhin Sinha, Pawan Khera says stop playing to the galleries, end this symbolism, start doing the real work on the ground.
See, I mean, it's a day when a big tragedy has happened, and I don't want to give it back to Pawan Khera in the language he would understand. But what Mr. Piyush Goyal, you saw the video, but what Mr. Piyush Goyal said was very matter-of-factly. He was not playing to the galleries. Was he playing to the galleries? You say that. I mean, don't make an issue out of nothing. I don't have anything more to say.
Okay, the Congress is making an issue out of nothing, says Tuhin Sinha.
Yeah, that was said very matter-of-factly. Was he playing to the galleries? You saw the video. Was he playing to the galleries?
Word that you uttered, don't do that. Please, people can see through your games. People can see through your words. People know what you stand for.
Okay,
Give
I need
it back
to quickly
to me.
I'm running out of time, gentlemen. I need to quickly go around the table for closing comments. Dilip Cherian, starting with you, wrap up this debate for us. What is the way ahead, apart from the political tutu meme that we always see?
Cut out the gimmicks, get rid of your big, high-flying hopes, get the basics right, and let people survive.
Atharzia,
Yeah.
very quick comments, sir.
Yeah.
20
Actually,
seconds.
that is the basic thing, that we have to be very practical.
Okay.
And we should give the political class, whoever is ruling, a chance to do the best what they can do, instead of politicizing every tragedy which happens out there. We should have a resolution.
So some would ask how many chances?
No,
Because
whatever chances.
If a government has been in power for several years, well then there is some cut-off point,
but
right?
before that the Congress was in the power.
There has to be some cut-off point. Mr. Mendirata.
I wish to endorse Mr. Tulsi's point.
Okay.
Unless accountability is fixed from the highest to lowest level, things can never change and will never change. This country has to go forward.
And you mean not just political liability, but legal liability?
Yes, legal, public, and public accountability is must. From highest to lowest level,
of course,
it has to be.
Accountability has to be must.
And
okay, all right. So I think one thing that we can all agree on is that at the end of the day, accountability has to be fixed. It's not enough to make tall promises, to coin catchy slogans, or sign projects that remain only on paper. At the end of the day, we have to get the job done. And at the end of the day, when there is loss of human life, there has to be accountability. The buck has to stop somewhere. Well, with that, it's a wrap on the show. Thanks very much for watching, and thanks to our entire panel for joining us on that special broadcast.